write them from your own perspective, and it's always good to put in there, you know, I've been a resident, I bought my home in Overlook Heights in 1992, and you know, I've lived with the traffic, and I've lived with the parking nightmares, etc. The first question is, your office, now this one's to Lori, your office is emailing statements that you are protecting the Claremont Community Plan 30-foot height limit for Bay Park residents. Now that's what they're saying. They're not doing that. I'm not going to get into that. That's a Bay Park issue. That's a different meeting. But for you it's important because you want to ask her, are you going to protect our Linda Vista 45-foot height limit? In other words, hey, you're protecting those guys. What about us? Are you going to protect us? So it'll be interesting to see what kind of responses. So if you would, send a carbon of your email to us so we have a public record of it, and send the response to us. And you're going to send that all to info@raisetheballoon.com. So it's one new email address. All of your questions, all of your emails, everything will go there. And then we have a volunteer that goes through there and sorts through and then shoots it out. If it was meant for me, they'll send it to me. If it was meant for Fran, they'll send it to Fran. But I'm interested to see what kind of narrative the city is going to come up with on that one. Second question, Perry Deely, the architect for the 90-foot proposed project, says that he presented the proposal to you over a year ago. If he did you voice any concerns to him over the amount of units proposed or the heights to which they want to build? If so, what were or are your concerns? So this is one that she's dodging, and again, I want to see what kind of reply she gives to that. Expect a lot of these responses to come from Adrian or Kelly or James McQuirk, some of the assistants. And what they'll do is they're going to get a certain number of these questions and then they're going to come back with a stock answer. Typically what they'll say is, oh, well, we're just waiting for the community planning group to weigh in. Well, that's not what you're asking. The community already knows where we're at. We're asking where you're at. So at the very least, it puts on record that you've asked her, that we've asked her as a community, and that we're looking for an answer. So that'll be an interesting one. So, you know, one of the things that we'll do is we'll post the replies online. So you can go through and see what replies your neighbors are getting on these questions.
Is it okay to add more than one also for IP address?
Oh, yeah. That is not IP limited. The surveys are, because that's the nature of the way that software is built. Right. Number 4. Where are we at? 4? If our Linda Vista subcommittee, formed for the finalization of recommendations of the Marina-specific plan, votes in favor of maintaining our current 45 height limit, will you support them? Very critical. Yes.
James, they've already voted in favor of it. In fact, when we did our mission statement at one of the first ad hoc committees, Michael Prince wanted to ignore it, but it's in the mission statement.
Right. What she's saying is the community already voted in favor of keeping it. Yes. But that plan isn't finalized yet. So what happens is a formal set of recommendations are made. It's put in a formal document. Then that is a draft plan by the city is created from that. Then it goes to environmental review. And then after that, it comes back for public review. So that's why we're directing it specifically. And these can go to both Lori and the mayor. So just carbon it to both. And we've given you their email addresses at the top. The city planning department initially proposed 3,300 new units be allowed to be built in the Linda Vista portion of the Marina specific plan. How many housing units do you think is appropriate to allow in this area? You didn't change the thing. That's okay. There'll be typos. Bear with us. So this is trying to, again, get her on record. Well, what do you think? You represent us. What do you think? Last one, James Lamattery is going to hold a town hall for all community residents for or against the 90-foot proposal in order to voice our concerns, suggestions, and recommendations. Would you be willing to attend this town hall meeting so that we can work with you face to face with our concerns? So a lot of smart congressmen are doing this, meeting their constituents in town halls, and they're saying, hey look, for the first 2 hours everybody screams and yells, and then in the last hour we get things done. So this is one where I think what's going to happen on the Bay Park side is that we're going to send these emails, and you know, we don't know how they're going to reply to this. I had originally sent an email to Lori inviting her to a town hall and asking her to pick the location and the time, and she could pick a local newscaster, yada yada, and of course they ignored that email. So if they get it all from you, they can't ignore it. That's the point. Yes?
We emailed us right here that exact topic to her last week, and we never got a response.
So she just didn't respond at all?
None.
Okay, so what we might want to do is, and we'll set it up, on the website, we'll put up a, it's just like a survey. It'll be how many people sent emails to Lori Zapf and did not get a response. So that is really, really helpful for me to go at the city council and go, you know, Ms. Zapf, or Council Member Zapf, you had 3,672 emails that you didn't respond to. What they're going to try to do is say, oh, this is just Lamattery and 6 people trying to stir stuff up, right? Imagine if everyone who lived on Overlook Heights sent an email with these questions. Do you see how powerful this stuff is? That's the work you have to do. I can't do it. I gotta go to work. I gotta pay my electrical bill. But I can give you the direction, and I can help you. Somebody have a question? Yeah, Mark?
I just want to mention something kind of in a general way. I'll walk up here. So that way I can see. And I can see you all. Last Tuesday, we had a big meeting. I don't know how many of you folks were at the meeting last Tuesday. It was really something. It was like 110 people, 120?
131. We do
131. Place was packed. Now, this meeting is mostly more Linda Vista-y people, right? But the thing that I've been thinking about all week, I sent an email to Lori Zapf's office also, and I got the auto responses that thank you so much, we'll be responding when we get a chance, and blew it off, basically. But the point I wanted to bring up that it dawned on me last week is that I want to thank James and the RTB committee. They're really pushing this, because otherwise I wouldn't have heard about it. It didn't connect with me, because I don't live right along Moraine. I live up on the top of the hill. But I noticed it today, just the traffic. Today's a normal day. God, can you imagine 3,300 more units along here? Geez, it'll be a zoo. So the point I wanted to make, and I mentioned it last Tuesday, was you folks, we have an implied contract with the city. We bought the house, we paid for the view. The zoning is what protects that. If they want to change the zoning, really, they got to get the assent of the public. And they're trying to pull a fast one and slip it past us. When we contact Lori Zapf's office, when we talk to the mayor, when we talk to these guys, if they try to blow him off like they did at the meeting a few weeks ago, which really flamed me, he's speaking on our behalf, but they're going to try and blow him off. Unless we all show up with him to show that we mean it, they're not going to talk to us. Because in the mind of the politician, you and I, and we're running around here in Claremont or Linda Vista Bay Park at the beach, wherever we are, we have a relationship. There's transients. Now my cousins, they come down in the winter from Canada, they might stay a few weeks, a month, whatever, they spend some money, play some golf, go to the beach, okay, great. They don't really control the city. Then we have residents who are tenants. You're paying the rent, you can live in Bay Park your whole life as a renter. They don't really take you that seriously because you're a renter. Yeah, you know, you're helping to pay the property taxes, you're registered to vote. But you know, they don't really take you seriously. And then there's a property owner. You bought the house, you're really committed, you're in there for 30 years, you're looking at those payments going, geez, I can keep on this thing. To the professional politicians, there's three kinds of people too. There's people who give them money to get favors back. Yeah, that's number one on their list. There's number two, people who vote. Okay, because that keeps them in power. And the third category of people is people who don't matter and they couldn't give you the time of day to save your life. And that's what you got to watch out for. So I want to thank you all for coming. And by doing this thing, getting on the website, telling your neighbors, putting up the sign, spreading the word. When we have a city council meeting, I'm going to be there. And I'm going to make a point of it. And I'm going to tell them, hey, you know, you're not the Wizard of Oz here. We all are in this together. We have a voice and we have a concern, and we're the ones paying the freight on this deal. You know, our property taxes are not exactly cheap, so we're paying their salaries. They work for us, and if they're not ready to, and I sent in that email I sent to Lori Zapf, I said, oh, we're planning another meeting Tuesday down here at Andres. Looking forward to seeing you because it's going to be filled with highly motivated voters who might be important in your future political career. She hasn't shown up. She's not here, is she? Oh, I'm disappointed because this would have been a great chance for her to shake some hands and meet people and share some stories about living here in Claremont and San Diego and how wonderful it is, but she's not here. So remember, if she cares enough to work on it, then she'll do it. How hard? It's not that hard. All she has to do is say, no, I'm committed to this 30-foot zoning thing, or I'm committed to the 45-foot thing in Linda Vista, and that's the way it is. That's not going to change.
She already said that.
She says that.
But
And a guy robbed the Girl Scouts up at Claremont Plaza too, you know? I'm sure if you asked him, he'd say he supports the Girl Scouts. But, you know, she said that to us, but like I said last week, I don't know what she's going to be doing in 2 years, but depending on how well she interacts with the people who give money to politicians, she might be just in a different politician slot, taking money from different people to do some other different thing. Because I don't think she's going to, you know, change careers and take retirement. So I don't trust politicians. I hate to say that. I don't. I used to sell used cars. I don't trust used car salesmen either. And there's only a few real estate agents I trust. He's one of them right there.
thank you.
All right. That's all about you. You guys are going to make this happen.
So Mark has really hit the nail on the head. You know, it's about numbers. It's about getting this email from a lot of you. So that's all I have. I want Howard to speak for a moment. Before I go there, are there any specific questions you guys have that you want to ask? I see.
Someone said that the emails became public documents last week. What
Yes.
date?
Oh, yeah.
What date did they become public documents? I want to know if one that I sent falls.
That happened a week and a half ago. The Supreme Court, I believe it was the California Supreme Court, maybe it was the U.S. Supreme Court, I'm not sure. Emails are now something that you can request for a public records request.
Do you know the date?
I don't know the date.
I can answer this question.
Oh, Howard can answer that question.
Yeah.
Here you go.
Clearly, if you send an email to a public official and it's received by the public official, that becomes a public record, period. What the California Supreme Court said about 2 weeks ago is if the public official is using his or her private email to send out communications, that's subject to the Public Records Act also. But frankly, when they're received by the public official and their official email has always always subject to an official request for public records. So yeah, communications are subject to Public Records Act requests. Let me pick up what I was going to say. Okay, I'm Howard Wayne. I live in Overlook Heights, and I'm the chair of the ad hoc committee for Linda Vista on the specific plan. We've been meeting since roughly November of 2015. And at some point, we are going to come out with recommendations about the height limit, but it's their only recommendations to the planning group. It's the Linda Vista Planning Group that will actually make the recommendation to San Diego. There are up to 21 people on that, but guess what? elections for the planning group are coming up on the 27th of March. And if you live in Linda Vista, or you own property in Linda Vista, you can vote. And you can vote on the people who are going to decide what the recommendations are to the city of San Diego.
You can also run.
Well, hang on, but you can't. Let me get to this point.
Yeah, that's the tricky bit.
You're jumping ahead of us. So, it's going to be at the Linda Vista Library on the 27th, starting at 5:30 p.m. Let me tell you this. There is one race where there are 5 candidates running for 2 positions. So there are going to be some winners, and there are going to be some losers. And you might want to go down to that meeting, and before you vote, ask each of those 5 candidates, where do you stand on preserving the existing height limit in Linda Vista? Do you support 45 feet, or do you support going higher? And then you can vote for the people who represent your point of view. Now, after the election is held on that day, there are going to be a number of vacancies on the board, because they're entitled to 21 positions, and we're only going to have about 14 or 15 people there. So in April, the planning group is going to appoint additional members. If you live in Linda Vista, and you're willing to make the commitment, because it'll be about a year commitment at that point, and you could be there to actually vote, to have a binding vote on what the planning organization is going to recommend to San Diego. So give that some thought. That's in April now. But anyone can just go down there, March 27th, Linda Vista Library, 5:30, and cast a vote and question the candidates. Get them on the record, because we want that group to come out with a strong recommendation that says we want the existing height limit. Our ad hoc group has taken that role, but it's ultimately going to be the big planning group that makes that choice. Yes, ma'am?
You can also work in that area and be on the council,
Yes.
right? So like you work for Jerome's and what the 90 feet, or over 90 feet.
We have somebody like that.
Yeah.
There are 4 ways to do it. Basically, live here, own property here, work for an organization that's here, go to school here. Those will all qualify you to vote. But important is what? Yes?
So USD students can vote?
I believe that's correct.
Wow.
So there's a lot of people who come out and vote. Now, I'll tell you, the last election we were held, only about 30 people voted.
30?
30 people for all of Linda Vista. So imagine just the people in this room, if everybody here lived in Linda Vista and went down to vote, you double the number of voters. So you can have a lot of say. Yeah, man. Yes, sir.
I work for Project Wildlife. Is that part of it? What it's called? Is that part of it?
I don't know where that is.
The old main.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're working there. I don't think you're volunteer. Okay, I think you probably get it. I would certainly try. Let them say no. But certainly, so lots of ways. But mainly, if you say if you're tied to Linda Vista, you can vote. Yes, sir.
One small footnote there, if you do decide you'd actually like to run to get on the planning group, I think they have a rule you have to attend like 3 meetings beforehand. So if you think you might have that in your future, you want to go to the meetings.
Hang on. That's not quite the rule in Linda Vista.
Oh, okay.
It says you should attend 3 meetings before running, but not that you must attend 3 meetings.
Nice.
So if you want to get appointed, you don't have to have a track record of being there. Show up in April and express your interest, because there will be vacancies there, because all the positions will not be filled. But in one census tract, there are more candidates running than there are spots. So you can make a choice there and say, who of you supports the existing height limit? Let me mention 2 other things. One is that we're trying to get a Raise the Balloon group for Linda Vista, really Overlook Heights, to coordinate with the existing folks who are doing Raise the Balloon. So it'll be a little bit of work. Are anybody here who lives in Overlook Heights interested in serving on that group? Don't all volunteer at once. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Eric, could you get these people's contacts? So raise them high, and we'll follow up. 2 folks there. Okay, we're gonna be sure to contact them. We're thinking of a tentative meeting, I think what was the date, the 20th?
It's on the paper there.
Yeah, 2 weeks from this evening, to do a tentative get-together and begin to organize the Linda Vista / Overlook Heights diversion. Sir?
Howard, when is that traffic study supposed to be completed?
Good question. I talked to Michael Prinz earlier this week. He was very vague, but I will talk about Mike in a second. But he said, we're probably going to have the next ad hoc meeting the last week in April. Now, he didn't give me a definite date and a hard and fast commitment to it, but late April was what he's indicated. So it'll probably be the week before we raise the balloon at Jerome's. Is there a follow-up? Yeah.
One other question. How tall is that shell sign?
I'm told it's about 60 feet, but I'm not certain.
I can tell you the
Yeah.
telephone pole on Buenos Aires Marina is 90 feet, because as they were installing it, I got out of my car and asked the contractor guys.
Which one?
The new one they just put up on Buenos Aires and Marina right there, the metal one with the yellow stripes on top.
So I think the shell is 60.
Where's the Shell station?
Was it-
What are you talking about?
Oh, that one. Oh, the Shell station.
Shell station.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's only
Okay.
60?
Now,
We walked with the balloon,
On the-
wasn't
on
that
this
exactly
one or
60
this
feet, but he took
Yes.
it right up to
Yeah.
the Shell station?
yeah, so it's
it
60
was
feet. So it's a little bit high. We'd like the building a little bit less. But again, this is the recommendation that will be made. And we have no way to affect the council by what the planning group recommends. And we can affect that group, first of all, by how we vote on the 27th of March. And if we really want to put in about a year and going to monthly meetings, you can get appointed to it.
I want to speak to that for a minute.
Yeah.
The community planning groups, anyone can join, given the criteria, right? You do not have to be a planner. You do not have to have any special knowledge to be on these committees. And as a matter of fact, if you've been to any of them, you can see that it's relatively the case. So you don't have to be an expert and do a lot of studying and that kind of thing to be a part of these groups. The subcommittees are formed to take one portion of a very large plan area and be the advisory group to the larger group. So the ad hoc subcommittee that Howard is on, and I sit on the ad hoc subcommittee in Marina, that committee really is the one that's supposed to be telling the larger group how to vote. That's what it's about. So the subcommittee is supposed to delve into it a little bit more. They get more detailed, and then they make a formal report to the community planning group. So the community planning group is supposed to be taking the recommendations from the subcommittee. But you bet your bottom dollar that the city is going to try to control that planning group. That's why it's important if you've got the time. And I know it sounds like a large commitment. Those of us that have been on these ad hoc subcommittees, it's once a month. It's one night a month. And to protect your community, it's really not that big of a commitment. You know, and it's easy to do. Yes, Carol.
Howard said they should be there 3 times, but they don't have to be there 3 times to run in
Right.
Linda Vista. Is that just Linda Vista? or
That's
is
just
that
Linda
Claremont?
Vista. In the bylaws, so that each community planning group has a set of bylaws. By the way, the Claremont Community Planning Group
Next Tuesday.
is right now working on changing their bylaws. So we'll see what they come up with. But in their bylaws, you have to have attended 2 meetings of their planning group before you can be elected to sit on it. We're going to be going through the same thing. In fact, we had a very good chair of the community planning group in Claremont, Keith Hartz, who is moving to Utah. Why you would move to Utah from here, I don't know. But anyhow, he's retiring, he's moving on, and he did a good job of chairing. We have a problem with our subcommittee in Claremont. We have a chair who might as well be a city employee. So we have some work to do there. But again, it takes no special expertise. You're not, and there's a small program that the city has you go through. It's very simple, and it gives you, you know, basically what you're supposed to be doing. But these are important groups because they are the officially recognized voice of the community. Now, when the planning department blows off that voice, then we start working on the political level, and that's where I'm going and speaking at Sandak Board of Directors and the San Diego City Council saying, you ignored our planning groups, or our planning groups ignored us. But here's, you know, 5,000 folks with a different opinion. So, question?
Who's the name on the, for Bay Park?
For Bay Park, the
Is it on the website?
chair, yes. So that, on the homepage where it said Community Planning Group Contacts, you will get the chairperson there. Also, when you go to the meetings, you will learn who they are, and usually they're listed. Anything they vote on is public record, so it's put into the minutes. So it's an easy process. It's really something, if you got the time, that's where you can get the biggest bang for the buck. Howard, you had more.
Now, this Thursday night, at about 6:30 p.m., at the American Legion location, Michael Prince, the planner for this proposal, is going to be speaking. He will be the keynote speaker. So if you want to hear him, what he has to say, and ask him questions, he's open game. And all you have to do is show up at the Linda Vista Town Council meeting this Thursday.
Where's that at?
At the American Legion Hall.
Where's that?
LBC. Do we have an address on that?
It's on the website.
It's on the website.
It's roughly at the intersection of Linda Vista Road and Genesee, at the southwest corner.
Okay.
Genesee, okay. And
we're going to get your Linda Vista page up.
so
So
we'll
that
have
has
it
all
there.
of this, everything we just discussed, will be right there. You know, who's going to speak and what you can do.
So we just found out the other day he'll be speaking, and we'll get a chance to see what's going on and get the update from him. Sir.
Now, if our questions are ignored by the mayor and Lori Zapf, they're ignored, can we keep sending in the same questions?
Yes, you know, look, this is how it works with the board of directors of Sandak. They do nothing about the issue on the first vote, and then we drafted an email petition and sent them the documents on the project, and then we got a unanimous yes vote. So we got what we wanted. So it takes time, but if enough people, imagine, just think for 1 minute, if everybody on Overlook Heights is sending in questions, and she ignores all of them, that actually is a good thing. We can use that, you know. I would like to see her actually get more engaged, but...
At the meeting last week, it was suggested that if you write to Lori Zapf regarding any questions or sentiments you may have, that you may also want to consider CCing the other members of the city council.
Absolutely.
And after thinking through what happened, you know, we were talking about how certain restrictions are in a plan, but the plan hasn't been approved, and apparently that's what's happening throughout the city. A lot of plans are either approved or they're looking to change them, that we should use maybe the word precedent. Let them know that, hey, if this happens here, if you as city council members in other parts of the town that you're not being affected now, think about this, because if a precedent is then set here, then they can use that precedent against you in your district. So even though they don't think this is going to affect them, let them know. Let it be known.
Absolutely, and that's why the board of directors all voted in favor, because they didn't want these 562 people. Look, the way they look at this is, it used to be in community planning groups, and the attendance would be the the members of the group and 3 or 4 of the public.
Yes.
But if those 3 or 4 in the public wrote in, they actually got things changed. Because that was a large number. So imagine today, you know, that's why the board of directors backed down, 562, because it translates, they know that that translates into 562 people with friends. And they think in terms of, these people are going to remember when I come back for re-election.
Yes.
And I'm telling you, Lori Zapf is going to be running for mayor. So, if she's got so much heat in her district, she'll either forget it or she will pay attention.